Okay. We don't have Mark. Is Mark here? Join us if you are. If you're not, don't. Welcome, everybody. This is a futurology panel where we try to say something hopefully interesting, maybe even intelligent about what's to come in the live music business, particularly next year or beyond the next year. Let's just the panel quickly introduce each themselves, starting with Stefan. Who are you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Stefan Elenkov, and I am CEO of Fest Team, company based in Bulgaria. We're doing a couple of big festivals such as Hills of Rock, Spice Music Festival, Sofia Solid, and also we're doing some big shows, headline shows and concerts. For next year we have Ed Sheeran coming to Sofia and promoted by our company. Also we have Hauser and many other interesting acts. Nick said that we need to be short and brief, so I will pass this to Dimitri.
Thank you. Dimitri.
Yes, sorry. Dimitri, I think maybe it's too close. I run a company, Honeycomb Life, which is based in Serbia. Now we used to be promoting in Russia for many years. Then now moved to Serbia, and we do a lot of shows in the region, not just Serbia, but also Croatia, Bulgaria, also in Greece, and a lot of other neighboring countries. And yeah, we also do Ed Sheeran as Stefan, but only we're doing Ed Sheeran in Belgrade next year.
Fabio, thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Fabio. I'm a booking agent promoter from Italy, from a company called DNA Concerti, which is the last independent agency in Italy. We work with artists like PJ Harvey and Bon Iver, Mac DeMarco, and we have a roster of Italian acts, which like Calcutta, Cosmo, Verdena, and so many.
And my name is Michal. Thanks for having me here. And I'm a musician and promoter from Slovakia. We do Pohoda Festival and many other events, mainly small, but Pohoda Festival is our main activity.
Okay, so I'm a sort of serious chap, and so I wanted to start with the serious side of the futurology, the climate emergency. So live music in the form of outdoor events is directly affected by extreme weather, storms, heat waves, forest fires, and floods, increasing insurance policies and public safety issues. Noting that there are also some temporary benefits for us, that the outdoor season begins earlier and ends later. We all know that global heating is going to get worse, and maybe much worse, before it eventually, hopefully, stabilizes at some new normal, all of which begs a couple of questions. So first, what can we as cultural workers do about the climate emergency, and what do we as cultural workers actually do about it? I don't know. So, open question. I mean, we can ignore it, or do we actually do anything about it? That's the question. Stefan.
Definitely we cannot ignore it, that's 100% sure. Based on our activities during the summer period, of course, we are all threatened from extreme weather and all the conditions that you mentioned. I would like to say that in our region, especially in Bulgaria, we are very much aware of these problems, but I cannot say, unfortunately, that we are very much taking measures for these situations. We are trying to educate people, we are trying to explain some important stuff, how they should behave, what measures needs to be taken, but people need to be more and more educated. And maybe one of the things that we need to stress more attention and more to provide them with more information regarding how they can help to prevent those things. So our goal for the future will be to take some of these important things that we all know that are done around the world and try to implement them in our events for the future.
Thank you. Dimitri?
Yeah, my understanding of the question was that can we do anything about if the events are affected by the weather? No, we can't. And this year, for example, in Belgrade, Beer Festival was unexpectedly hit by heavy rain, so they had to cancel 2 days because it was just everything was just floating away. And yeah, the only stuff you can do about it is just maybe for production, like for production. Yeah, you should get maybe put more attention into safety and also in the staging in particular, because I once had an event in Moscow many years ago when the stage company didn't do their job properly, and the stage basically folded. Luckily, it was 1 day before the event started, so we just need to put more attention into general safety regulations.
I just add something there. I think the intention of the question is also more general, because we are part of a business which is fundamentally not sustainable. You know, there are artists, international touring artists are not, it's not a sustainable model. They're flying around the world in private jets. There's 20 trucks on the road if it's a big show. If it's Ed Sheeran, it's 50 trucks on the road or whatever. It's not, it's totally not a model of sustainability. So that's part of it, but there's also as Stefan said, the educational aspect is very important. What's our relationship to consciousness of the crisis? Because most people manage to get on with their lives without paying too much attention about it and maybe thinking, oh, this is a problem which is for the government or for somebody else or not my problem, and so on and so on. Anyway, Fabio.
No,
Michal.
Fabio. You are Fabio.
Go for it.
Yeah, you know, about climate changes, I think both of them told everything. We can just be attention about everything which can happen, and you know, I think is very important then communicate by management, and then you know, it's very I don't know about the costings. I think the last after pandemic, say Ed Sheeran, it's like 50 trucks. It's very, it's very business model. It's crazy business model. But like promoter, what we can do? You just, you know, just be there and then say, okay, this is the production, and then what we can do? Probably nothing. I don't know. I say.
Go on.
Yeah, that's funny what I'm thinking about right now, but you know this policy that airplane companies has right now, that if you pay some extra money on top of your airplane tickets, those goes to reduce the CO2 emissions and stuff like that. Why don't we put extra top money on top of the price of the ticket to reduce the CO2 emissions, because Ed Sheeran is traveling with 50 trucks, and to deduct this money from his ticket. Next time he will travel with electric trucks and will save some.
I think there are some artists who actually do that. I mean, Coldplay, I think in particular, have gone to great efforts to try to mitigate the effect, their carbon footprint. You could argue about whether it's very effective and so forth and so on, but they definitely tried. And I think Radiohead, when they tour, do something very similar. So that's an artist-led decision, you know, because it costs money. So at some point, it might cost money, and also it might affect the production itself. So it's for each individual artist to say, do we manage to make a production which is more electric? Or is it less trucks, less buses, less private jets, and so on? But usually the artists are not exactly hypocritical, but they live in a world where they carry on doing what they do because that's the model. Michal.
So, I think we can do a lot, and I think that you are too kind to artists because I think they are hypocritical very often, because it's easy to say that we want to change the planet, but it's not easy to confirm it by action. You mentioned Coldplay. I think that their tools how to reduce carbon print was not absolutely doing nothing to reduce carbon print. It was just, from my point of view, just words, because I don't know if you know what it was about. It was about some special stage in the front of a regular stage, and when people were jumping, it was producing electricity and it was used for the show. And we all know that it was producing nothing for the show. It was just gesture, which cost money, which put carbon print to it, etc., etc. That's my opinion about that. What we can do a lot. I think, to be honest, I didn't expect that after all these debates we have, there will be still tours with 50 trucks. I think it's absolutely out of mind, because you can use local producers, local production. And this is what I'm wondering, how this can continue in this situation. We are arguing a lot with artists when we are booking them for our festival. We want them to share festival setup, screens, etc., etc. So we can do a lot also in this field, I think. Second thing is education. Of course, we have to communicate with our audience, and it's very important. Climate change was one of our main topics during our festival this year, and we did it not only with debates and some activities and some labels, but we did it also, we implemented that to the lineup of the festival. Several music and visual art pieces were dedicated to climate change. For example, we did Plantasia by More Garson on main stage. We did the main visual art piece was about this. It was called Last Generation, etc., etc. And I liked what you said about this bigger picture, because I think that artists, festivals, events, culture scene in general can play active role also with communicating with people, with audience. Of course, you want to have fun, but also if you want to continue to having fun, you must do something to protect it. So it's connected also to this rising of populism. It's connected to war in Ukraine and all wars. When we speak about climate change, if the war will stop, it will help the planet a lot, and we all know this. So it's also to be willing to go to fight against populism, against populists, which mainly are saying that climate change doesn't exist. And also to be prepared to have consequences out of that. Because it's, again, easy to say it when you are in absolutely fine environment, but when it's bringing you some consequences, then it means something that you do right things, or just you have to be prepared for that.
How do you handle, because your festival is in Trenčín, it's not in Bratislava, so how do you handle transport for the attendees? Because, in other words, how do you deter people from driving to the festival? How do you encourage them to take public transport or whatever?
Yeah. With artists, we do it as well. I'm pushing the artists not to use private jets as much as possible. Our record number of private jets was in 2022, when all these debates about climate change were in the peak situation, and I was very surprised, how is this possible? So we are trying to push them not to use private jets, to persuade them to fly to Vienna or Bratislava or Budapest, because all these cities are close to Trenčín. If they need to fly, of course some of them need to fly, it's normal from my point of view. And with our public, in countries like Slovakia or Central Eastern European countries, the public transport is not developed so well like in Western countries. But we are pushing our state companies to cooperate with us, which is not easy, because we don't have good relationship with states, so everyone is afraid to work with us. But we are pushing them to provide trains, to provide buses, etc., etc. We work also, of course, with private companies. We have our tool like Together to Pohoda, like to put people together, to travel together. We are also using the trick with more and more expensive tickets for parking. So people are using more public transport now. And we use bicycles, for example, on site, and we also encourage artists to use them or to just walk. But I know this is like minimal steps, but we all do this.
I think it's not just minimal steps. I think it's what I would put into a bracket of consciousness raising. You know, I don't know, recycling the plastic bottle in itself, is it a big deal? Actually, it is a big deal, because if we all think, if we integrate recycling into our thinking, or low energy lighting, which this is not, I think. If we integrate using public transport into our event planning, so that we absolutely underline the real importance of people coming by public transport and not driving to the gig, parking their car and driving home, then it's a shift in consciousness, and it's encouraging people to think, oh, maybe I can do more to change my lifestyle, without it being like a huge handicap.
And what you can see in some festivals now after pandemic, some festivals came back to use plastics, one-use plastics, and I'm absolutely not shocked, but I'm surprised that it's coming there, because it's cost you more if you, in our case, it costs you more if you use reusable cups, but we do it. We can't imagine to go back in this. We don't have any plastics at the festival, any. Well, everything is compostable, and we have separation points at the festival where we separate everything from butts, from cigarettes to batteries to everything. So it's like you have there 12 possibilities how to do it, but we have team there. In each point we have team. So you can do it also in this way, of course. And there are many other things. For example, we were digging wells on wheels. Wheels? How is it? Wells. In on-site to use water exactly from the side, and we do many things like this.
Okay, can I just ask, because we have two Ed Sheeran promoters here, and I've worked with Ed Sheeran in the past. Do you get anything from the artist side which is pushing you, let's say, or encouraging you to think in terms of maximizing the environmental impact, the use of energy, the recycling, etc., or is it simply as it always was 10 years ago or 20 years ago?
It's because I not really. Yeah, it is as it was, because I also worked with Ed Sheeran before in Moscow in 2019, and yeah, he's not really implementing anything, but we. I think, yeah, because on artist side, I don't think anyone is ready to, as you said, compromise on the production and the quality of the show, and electric trucks are not really possible yet. So, but maybe when it will be, yeah, it will be the thing. But things should be, as discussed here, maybe more on the promoter side. Because when what Michal said, that yeah, when we did it's not Ed Sheeran related, but when we did a festival in Moscow a couple of years ago, before pandemic, we I think we were the first festival that had on separated trash, and also we were one of the first to sell drinks in in reusable cups here, because all others, they just do it in paper and everything.
Yeah, I would say similar what Dmitry said. I don't felt anything coming up from the artist, but connected with what I said in the beginning, it's a perfect situation right now where we actually have the opportunity to present these ideas for separate collecting of trash or using reusable glasses in front of 60, 70,000 people and put the thinking of their heads. So once again, we're going to use this opportunity as educational tool for our audiences.
Fabio, if you work with quite a lot of alternative artists, PJ Harvey is obviously a very alternative artist and a very intelligent artist. Do you feel that when you engage with artists which are not at the stadium level, but still significant artists who are obviously touring Europe and the world, do you feel that there's some dialogue with you as a promoter which has shifted, where there's more attention to the issues contained in the climate crisis?
Yeah, she's one of the artists we keep attention about these elements, these parts of the show. So yeah, we promote last time PJRV like 5 years ago, just before pandemic. We just missed this live tour. She's around right now, and yeah, she's one of the artists we keep attention in these things. Like she has a kitchen, and she's going on tour with his kitchen and the chef. So there's not, it's like a kind of optimization of one part of the show, of the production, because they have just the food is reusing the day after, and then it's just one part of this.
Do any of you, because again, looking at it from a futurology point of view, do any of you have an idea of how the business model that we have, which actually from the sound of it hasn't changed very much over since I started, actually. It's not much different, it's a bit different. Can you imagine how it could be different? How in 2 years' time, or 3 years, or 5 years' time? Because at some point it has to change, it has to be different. There will be increasing pressure. There's obviously the latest COP summit is happening now, and a lot of compromises are happening, blah, 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 and there will be more and more pressure on societies to actually do things, not just, talk about it.
I need to add as well that the main issue, I think, is that being sustainable costs more. Yes. If you talk about the artist side, the touring costs, as we all know, they increased. I don't know how much, but a lot. So the fuel prices are high, airline tickets are high because of the fuel prices. So the artists can hardly survive touring as it is, as they were for many years. And I don't think they'll, unless things change in the economy and the general cost of touring, I don't think a lot of artists would start thinking about being sustainable, because they can barely survive on how it is right now.
I think that I wish that it will continue, that there will be still big events, because I see culture as a social thing much more than it's great to experience something nice, beautiful with a lot of other people. So I think that this should continue, but it's not so complicated, because if we will just go back when the artists were touring in 70s, maybe 80s, they were not competing how many tracks they have. They started after and they still continue, and I don't know why. But the big names also in that time, they played on local PAs, not their PAs. So it's not so complicated to come back a little bit. And the sound makers were used to know each desk on the planet, not one which they bring with them.
I sort of agree with you, and I have the same vision. But do you, as promoters of big artists, do you think if tomorrow Ed Sheeran says, okay, I'm not going to bring my big production, I'm going to use local production, local screens, local sound and lights, do you think it would affect anything for the audience? Do you think the audience would still come and pay tickets and it would work as a show? Or do you think that the audience would go, oh, there's nothing special, it's the same lights as all the other shows and all the rest of it?
First of all, I will say yes to your question. I think that the audience will come, and because they're fans, and they will not pay that much attention to the production because they're fans of the music that the artist creates. But from the other side, I would not agree with both of you saying that we need to go back in time and use the systems that they used or whatsoever, I would be a little bit more wilder, because when I was looking at the pictures and videos of U2 in the Sphere, I was thinking that maybe this is actually the future of most of the festivals and concerts vibes, because if you imagine for the future, you create a stage with a huge massive LED screens on the back, and this is standardized for every artist, and they just compete on the visuals that they're going to put and the atmosphere that they're going to create on stage, plus the music that they create coming from the sound system, and not using all this rigging stuff, all the other lights, because if you see the production of U2 in the Sphere, it's kind of amazingly simple. You don't have those complicated devices, but they have this big, huge, massive wall, which creates completely different atmosphere and creates the show in completely different way. So maybe one of the decisions would be, yeah, we are going to perform on 16 meters stage, or 20 meter stage, or 24 meter stage. Just give us a huge LED screen, and that's it. The rest will be sound, and we're going to perform with visual. We put the flash drive, and that's it. Yeah, no complicated productions, no complicated tracks, etc., etc.
I think it's also the same with lights, because lighting technology, moving light technology, digital lighting technology, like sound, it's very. You can easily standardize it. You know, a good lighting engineer can come to a festival and reprogram the lights. They don't have to bring their own lights. They can just reprogram the lights that the festival or the event or the local concert has. So it's totally workable. It's just you have to reimagine how you work. Okay. By the way, if anybody has any questions, because we'll move sort of through some different subjects, so if anyone has any questions, just shout out, because I can't see a thing. It just looks like there's a black space, night. So you don't have to wait to the end. We move on to another, even much more, or equally serious subject in a way, or more serious possibly. So we all work in a geographical space between the war in Ukraine and the war in the Middle East. We are right in the middle of it, between the two. So you could sort of think, okay, well, it's not our wars. We're not involved directly in those wars, but obviously they're part of the general society. They're part of the social context, cultural context in which we live. And obviously it affects our societies directly, because there are economic effects, because there's deep issues in the societies which manifest themselves in the wars. Racism, Islamophobia, colonialism, imperialism, anti-Semitism, and so there's authoritarianism, and so forth and so on. So the wars, both these wars, which have certain similarities and obviously big differences, they have a context which echoes in our relatively peaceful, seemingly peaceful Central European societies, and we're in the former Yugoslavia, and we all know that there's always a potential in the former Yugoslavia for war to re-emerge. So I hope it didn't start here in Skopje now, because I'm leaving if it's the case. So I listed a few questions, and I just throw them out quickly because I think it's such a big subject. How do these wars affect our work with live music? Do we ignore these wars as best we can? Do we engage with the compassion fatigue which leads to people and governments to reduce their support for the victims? Do we try to help the victims in some way? And then lastly, do we try to address the deeper issues which I was just speaking about, which are social issues? Or do we just go, we're in the entertainment business and it's not our problem?
I would like to give the microphone to Dmitry to say first.
Obviously, it's not. We can't ignore this, and I specifically can't. And we because basically I lost all business which I had in Russia, and we had to move to Serbia, and but what I don't know. It's difficult to be honest because we also been we had a successful business in Israel, so basically both was affected me directly, and but in the beginning when the war in Ukraine started, we did some charity shows with some Russian artists, and we obviously never made any money on them, and we spent a lot of money, and this went to help to one foundation which helped the refugees. So that's. I know it's a difficult subject, and
can I just put you? I
Yeah.
don't want to put you too much on the spot
Yeah.
because you're Russian. I don't think that's fair. But you've moved to Serbia.
Yeah.
Is the mic working?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. You've moved to Serbia, which is also a country which has complications, let's say, in this territory. An authoritarian government, a shaky democracy, a lot of corruption, and so on and so on, and potential for, with the never-ending tension with Kosovo and so on, also a potential for war. So you are presumably aware of all of that, and you're a very successful, very big promoter, the biggest of all of us. So what is it, do you feel? How does it? How do you feel that you need to, or you should, or you shouldn't try to address the underlying issues, the underlying cultural issues, which make war even possible? Because I think for most of us, it seems unimaginable that we can have wars in this part of the world, at least in 2023 or 2024. But we do.
Yeah, I don't know, but to be honest, where I think this can happen in most parts of the world. So you can, because you would, for example, Russia, Ukraine was unimaginable a couple of years ago. So now it happened. So it can happen. You can never be safe anywhere. It's just the way it is in the 21st century, unfortunately.
Fabio.
I think, a lot of production costs are very high now about complication about the war, like fuel. We have like €2 for a liter, and then I think one of the problem right now about Europe, about every tour, is to have this costs are very high, and then tickets price are very high, and then a lot of a lot of things which are happen. And then when the war started, 3 or 4 tours cancelled by expectation costings, which became not sustainable, And then from there to now, I think ticket prices are like 2, 3, 4, 5 euros more than 2 years ago, and this is a problem.
Do you feel in Italy? Do you feel somehow that the wars are happening somewhere completely else? That they're in other words, Ukraine and also Israel, Palestine are somehow far, far away, like they're the other side of the world? Or do you feel that they also touch something within Italian society for you as a cultural worker, as I call it?
At the beginning was actually more close to the Italy. Now seems it's very far, but it's not true. It's there.
Okay, Mikhail.
So this is a very sensitive topic for me. We are a neighboring country to Ukraine, and I think that we should focus more on for me, the war in Ukraine is something what as it is in our neighboring country, for me it's very important, and unbelievable thing. The aggression of Russian Federation is something what should be stopped by international society. I'm very wondering that we are complaining that we have bigger costs. They are losing lives, and we are speaking about bigger costs of fuel. It's unbelievable. And you lost your business in Russia, but people in Ukraine can't do anything because your country invaded them. So for me, this is something these debates are a little bit strange to me, but as culture sector, we should do, and we can do a lot in this field, and I trust the power of art. I don't want to overvalue art, but I don't want to make it like it's not important. That's why we should do as festivals, promoters, as much as we can do. And again, not just speak about it, not just put some labels, not just put some flags or anything, or similar things, but also to confirm it by action. And there are many ways how we can do it. If you want, I can name some of them. What we do, in our case.
Mikhail, I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I want to put you a little bit on the spot, because you've also been struggling against the Slovakian, the situation in Slovakia, the political situation in Slovakia. Yes. That's part of what you've done, and which you actually lost in a sense, because of the last
Depends. It's not ended.
In a way, but in talking about the underlying issues which caused the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and which caused the conflict in Palestine and the Middle and Israel, then you have similar issues in Slovakia. There's not war, but you also have a tendency towards populism, authoritarianism, corruption, etc., etc. So, and you've been directly involved with those. How do you, from that experience as a music festival organizer, do you feel that what difference did it make? How did it affect your work as a promoter of a festival? Can you say something about that?
Of course, it's affecting a lot our work, because we are. Just to say, yesterday I published one very strict anti-government statement because the politicians from our government were abusing one of our anti-totalitarian song, and this was something behind my borders, so we published it, and it's strictly against our Prime Minister, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior, etc., etc. And the consequences are there. We are not working with state, we are not supporting by state, we can't work with state companies, but we stay, we fight, and we will continue doing our work as we used to do. So we have problems. Our politicians on the top level in Slovakia are publicly against the event, and it's not only rumors, it's during press conferences, etc., etc. So we are in this conflict, and there are consequences out of it, but if you want to do something, you must count on consequences. So from my point of view, it's not so complicated. It's not easy, I know. In some countries, some territories, it's much more difficult, but it's also not easy in Slovakia, mainly after these elections, which ended in a horrible way.
Okay. Go on, yeah, please.
Hello, I am Logan from Macedonia, and when I come on this panel, I was read that you will talk about the agent, about the festivals, about the prices, expectation for next year, because to be honest, if you are a little bit more in the industry, we can say that Israel changed something, and Russia war changed something, but in the last 25 years, as I remember, the prices of the artists go higher every year. So always agents have examples that start the war in Kosovo, then start and they all the time just put our prices up. So it's not always about the gas, it's not always about the climate, it's not always about the other things happen in our hemisphere. So, and we always forget to speak about about the feelings of artists. If they have some feeling that all the prices come big, so maybe they need to have a sense to don't put so much big or expensive tickets to the audience, or maybe to play more free shows, or maybe to come and help Balkans with the cheaper price. So I think that this is for me much important to hear something. So how you will fight with all this in 2022 before Santa Claus is the name? Yes.
Login, I think that I don't kind of agree with you, because we could all sit here moaning about the prices of artists or the prices of production or the prices of crew. I don't know what it would change. We would just be going, oh, it's really bad.
No, but let's cry a little bit.
But
So
I don't see the point.
my
because
the climb will not change me nothing. The gas was expensive even 10 years ago. So we have a
none of us-
recession.
none of us have any
We survive
influence.
many things. But why this standard of the every year new presence from the agencies? We don't have a, I don't know, strategy to stop,
well,
for example.
It's a market. I mean, you don't, as a promoter, and I'm a promoter, we're all promoters.
So because
You have choices. You can promote or you can not promote. You don't have to offer more money to an artist than you feel you can get back from
so
selling
let's
tickets.
talk about our stupidity all the time. What we do it, you know.
Well, we wouldn't be. None of us, presumably, on this panel at least, are particularly stupid. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in
because
business.
that you are invited here. Promoter told me, the organizer told me that choose the best ones. But let's back to the show business, I think. But you know, let's.
But I'm trying to make a point, because actually in the
I want just to tell you that in 15 minutes start the lunch. So let's start let's come to the point.
right. But in your list of things, you also included the climate crisis. So
Was just joke, my friend.
okay,
You don't
well,
see
for
the
me,
point
that's
at
not
the
a
end.
joke.
Yes.
That's definitely not a joke, and the wars are not a joke. And also, trying how we relate to the societies around us and what problems underlie the wars, for me, is a very big issue. Certainly, I think about it, and I live in Istanbul, so we're part of a certain context. It's cheaper in Istanbul, I checked. Okay, we can move on, but I don't want to just be moaning about things which we have no influence about. The international live music business is in a process of consolidation with the continuing expansion of Live Nation, Eventeam Live, All Things Live, and Superstruct, mostly funded by big investment funds behind the scenes for whom music is purely a way of making money. So, simple question, does it concern us? And if it does, how? Stefan.
Of course, it concerns us, but I was trying to remember actually for how many years I know you, Wogin, and I think that it's more than 15. And my first impression from you was that you're constantly bragging about the price of the artist and constantly increasing price. And it's nice that still 15 years later you're on the same opinion, and I'm completely agree with you about this greediness of the agents, I would say, not the artist. And as Nick
It's the artists, it's not the agents.
Yeah, from time to time it's
The
artists.
artists instruct the managers instruct the agents.
Well,
They are just pawns.
Okay, whatever. But at the end of the day, we need to deal with this situation, and somehow we need to find our way through that. We have many options, many choices. One of it is just to stop making big international acts with increasing prices, keep it low, whatever makes us happy and and whatever we want to do, because happily we live in a free countries, and we can make our own decisions, and nobody's forcing us to buy expensive stuff if we don't want to buy them. From one side. From the other side, if the artists sell, it sells. I mean, what can you do about it? It doesn't matter if the price of the ticket is 100, 200, 300. They're sold out in minutes, in hours, and after that, they just add more shows and another stadium show and another stadium show. And at the end of the day, they're making millions, billions.
It's very simple. It's a market, and we're in a market economy. So if the ticket prices are too high, people stop buying them. If the ticket prices are not too high and there's demand, people continue buying them. And then you could analyze why some tickets are selling so well and other tickets don't sell at all. I can do a concert for €5 and nobody will buy a ticket. So this is just a free market, and we're in free market economies, and that's what I don't see anything to complain about. We all understand that.
No, but there is something else here. We are in the entertainment business, and this is something which is coming from the centuries behind. Because if you go really, really back in time when the Roman Empire exists or whatsoever, we are talking about wars and gladiator shows, and people like to be entertained, people want to be entertained, and obviously after very big conflicts, after pandemics and stuff, the demand of desire people to be entertained is higher, and then the prices are going up, and then everything goes up. I will give you an example. During the pandemic, the first year of the pandemic, in Bulgaria happened the only festival in the world. It was Spice Music Festival. Nowhere in the world in that year, 2020 or 2021 was the first one. We had the festival with 8,000 people coming, despite all the measures, despite all of the fear, just because people wanted to be entertained and people wanted to be together because they were sick of staying alone in their houses. And it was, you feel this desire inside of the people. So this is only one example. During the economic crisis in 2008.
That's just supply and demand. That's the basic operation of the market.
Yeah, but for entertainment is a little bit even more different.
I don't think it's different. If I go to the store and I see chocolate and I want chocolate, and there's 10 different. Actually, I went to a store yesterday and there was 50 kinds of chocolate. It was a big store, and you choose. You make a choice. And it's this. I don't think it's so different. Michal, you want to say something?
Yes, it's not so easy, Nick, I think, because what we name as free market is not real free market. We know that the monopolies are the biggest enemies of free market, and we, as a music scene, I hate the term music industry, are following all mistakes of other big industries. We are monopolizing what is possible to monopolize, and everyone who knows something about free market knows that monopolies are the biggest enemies of free market, and we are becoming there. I don't want to say it's not black and white. I know many independent promoters who are not nice people. I know many people who are working for corporates who are beautiful people, and opposite way. But in general, we all know that monopolies are not helping the situation, and mainly in art, which is also connected to emotions, which should be connected to emotions. So we are naming it free market, but we are not offering fees for artists based on Slovak free market. We are making fees based on German free market. So it's bringing us to total difficult position.
But of course there is not such a thing as, when I say free market, I mean I'm being tongue-in-cheek. And the point I was making earlier about the consolidation in the music business, obviously the model of Live Nation or Evan Team, they are about creating monopolies in order to dominate the market, manipulate the market, control the market, set the prices, and so on, have less competition, in fact, as much less competition as possible. That will push up the prices. The consumer still has a choice whether to actually consume or not. That's a simple thing. And you can't have a complete monopoly. That's impossible. So there are always spaces, which is our spaces as well, as long as we're independent. So it's very complex.
Yes, it is. But also you can see, if you visit several festivals, established festivals, we changed approach to our audience. They are I'm not saying, I don't want to say it in general, but it's focused much more on middle-aged, middle-class people than it used to be. Artists, seeing all this, like monetizing everything, started to sell selfies with their fans. Who could imagine that in 20 years ago that you are happy that you have audience
I give you a
there.
story.
It's
I give you a
unbelievable.
story. We just did 50 Cent in Zagreb. They organized, there were VIP tickets, and then on the day of the show, without telling us, they organized a kind of meet and greet with the artist. And you had to pay 500 euros in cash or credit card directly to the artist, to the artist representative. The promoter wasn't even part of it. We didn't even know about it. And they went out into the audience with credit card machines, and then after the show, you could go and meet 50 Cent and have your picture taken for 500 euros.
Hip hop,
But-
art of street.
But,
Yes.
but nobody has to do it, of course. The person, you can say no. You know, it's
also not so easy because it's pushing you. The society is pushing you to do something. You have your son who is big fan of 50 Cent. You don't know what to give him. You have your last 500 euros in your pocket, but your son is dreaming about selfie
say
with 50
no
Cent.
to your children. Very important.
No.
Say no.
Yes, you can say no, but maybe you are in a situation when you want to give this something like miracle happened to him. And this is like, we are pushing also that kids to this situation, and it's weird.
Well, but
From my point of view, it's weird.
But exactly, Nick. Now, do you see the difference? Because before a minute ago, you compared the desire to eat a chocolate with the desire to be entertained and to meet your entertainer. It is a completely different thing. It's not like you wanted to eat a chocolate. Because the people, the feeling that people have inside of them to be entertained and to meet their heroes, let's put it in this way, it's completely different. It's not like, you know, having your basic desires covered.
It's exploitable, of course. You can exploit. You can exploit the desire, of course, and capitalism, as we know, is built on, part of what it's about is exploitation of resources, and in this case, exploitation of wanting to be close to the artist, wanting to buy tickets, wanting to buy merchandise, etc., etc., etc. Of course, the seller is exploiting the consumer. The consumer has choices. They don't have to say yes. And so the education happens when the consumer knows, oh, actually, I don't have to say yes to this. I can say, no, fuck off. So it's, that's a dialectic, let's say. I mean, and the markets work like that anyway, in everything, pretty much. If there's not enough bananas, the price of bananas goes up.
I like the way that you simplify it, but it's not that simple. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Fabio, you want to say anything on this?
Yeah, last summer in Italy, Live Nation promoted a show of Kendrick Lamar at Arena di Verona, and ticket prices was from 100 to 150 euro, and they sold just 6,000 tickets, which are very incredible and so
Low, yeah.
you know. So people didn't buy ticket because, as you told, can choice. And then 100 euro from Kendrick Lamar, which played the last summer, the summer before in Milan, and sold like 20,000 tickets.
I can just say one thing maybe for the audience is that artists do control ticket prices. As a promoter, you can't just set the ticket prices and do whatever prices you want. It's always an agreement with the artist's side. And the artists can say yes or they can say no. Some artists are totally greedy. They just want to maximize their income. And then they will, if you say, well, we can sell 200 euro tickets, they'll go, oh, okay, all right, that's good. And there are other artists who say, no, we want to, we won't accept ticket prices more than X, whatever. Manu Chao, when I was working with him, wouldn't accept ticket prices more than 25 euros. And then there are other artists, I think AC/DC, they don't accept ticket prices more than 70 euros, and so on and so on. But then there are other artists who don't give a damn. So those are artists who have different relationships with their fans. And that's also, of course, a free market decision. You know, the artists can decide if they care or not, if they just want more money.
But sometimes with artists, it's not also so easy because they say maximum price is 25 euros, but then when you collect all the money you can receive, you can't pay the fee of the artist. It was based on real story. So it's easy to say publicly that I'm super friendly artist because my maximum ticket price is 25 euros, but then you as a promoter you can become to situation that you don't have enough for the fee because the fee is not based on split, it's based on fixed.
Well, also as a promoter, if you know, there are a lot of situations. There was a story recently, I can't remember the name of the artist, but it was a municipality, I think in Turkey or somewhere, that sold the tickets really cheap. They put them on sale. They sold out immediately, but they were all bought by Viagogo. And then Viagogo sold them at 10 times the price. And the idea of having democratic ticket prices didn't work because now there was a market price which was set by Viagogo, and the money went to Viagogo, not to the artist or the municipality. So these things are quite, you know, the market still has a very major role in this.
Well, one thing which Fabio said about Kendrick Lamar, similar situation we had with 50 cents in Bulgaria, because you just mentioned how much people are paying for a picture with 50 cents, and I know that you had a couple of successful shows with 50 cents. But for example, 50 cents came in Bulgaria before 1 year in 2022, and it was a very special show which was held in a very special occasion, and the ticket price for that concert was 400 euros or 200 euros actually. And guess what? Hardly sold 120, 150 tickets for an artist like 50 Cent. So this means that the promoter, the person that organized all this thing, highly overpriced the artist, and at the end of the day, they lost huge amount of money.
And they highly overpriced the artist in agreement with the artist, almost certainly.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure, generally, it's like that. So then the artist was too greedy, and you know, it's a chain of greed. Just coming back to the point, because it's the kind we have to finish soon, and Login will get really upset, is the point about consolidation. So all of us are independent promoters, and we all see the overall global music marketplace becoming more and more consolidated. Sigit, who isn't here unfortunately, is part of Superstruct. And obviously Live Nation and Evan team, Live Nation especially, are very active in the Balkans. You work with Live Nation, I've worked with Live Nation, Dimitri is working with AEG, and you're working with AEG, and so on and so on. So most of us, Michael probably is the exception, and I don't know about Fabio if you're totally innocent of working with the big people.
We are promoting a tour with Live Nation right now, but
so
for
you're
the
guilty.
first time. Yeah.
You're also guilty. So, except for Michael, we're all guilty. So, how does when we look at the future, do you go, well, actually, the trend is like that. There's nothing we can do to stop it. And sooner or later, we'll all become part of some multinational grouping. Or not? Is there an alternative?
I don't feel definitely as guilty. Basically, to keep my independence, I prefer to work with Live Nation, AEG, All Things Live, whoever comes with a good quality artist show which we can afford and produce in Bulgaria. And I think that the way to succeed actually in this highly monopolized world is try to be, working with everybody and just try to coordinate the things in a proper way in order to have the right show at the right moment, not overlapping one on top of each other in order to, give the chance to the audience to collect the money, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money, if you can afford to go or you cannot afford to pay the money for the ticket. So our role actually is to balance these high powers in order to give as much as possible quality shows to your local market.
Dimitri?
Yeah. Consolidation happens. It's inevitable, like in every industry. But there will always be place for us because, as you know, a lot of big companies first they're slower at making decisions, and then the main thing that the artists until the artists reach arena level, or let's say maybe like or at least like 5,000-7,000 tickets level, they're not really interesting for these big companies. So And
That's changing.
It's just changing now, but a few years ago it was like that. So
a few years ago, Bulgaria wasn't interesting to the big companies, or Turkey, or it's all changing. So because the big company, once it's established its semi-monopoly, in Germany or France, then they think, we should, Slovakia, that's interesting.
Yeah, but there's anyway, there will always be a place for us, and the key is to success as independent promoters. Pick another, get artists at a very early stage. That's then just grow them. Like we.
I'm dialoguing with you, but for example, Joker Out, which is a local artist. We've just seen them. They're playing tonight. They've exploded out of Slovenia, the last country on earth where you expect major international artists to appear from. What happens if they become an arena level artist and Live Nation come along and just sign a global contract with them, and then we're out of it? So that's the logic of consolidation, is that we might invest in the artists when they're club level.
I know, but that's up to the artist, of course, because a lot of them they continue working with promoters that they keep loyalty. Of course, there's always a price of loyalty, obviously. So if Live Nation offers billions, they would accept. But for example. But a lot of big artists do that. Like Ed Sheeran, he works with AEG globally, but in some countries, like in France, he works with Live Nation because the people at Live Nation were the first to book him when he was very small, up-and-coming artist.
Fabio.
Yeah, it's very hard to be independent right now in Italy, because there's Aventine, which now has the company Vertigo, D'Alessandro Galli, and a lot of big company. And then on the other side, there's Live Nation, which has Indipendente, Concerto, so they cover the 19% of the market. And then 10% remains. It's very hard to work, and then to find new artists, because for the artists we already work in the past, with the relationship with the agents, with the artists, we still try to keep them in our roster. But for the new artists, especially mainstream, Rosalia, Olivia Rodrigo, there's a delay in Europe about the tour, so it's not possible to try to work with that kind of artists right now. So.
Tough, in other words.
Yeah, tough.
Okay. And Mikhail, does it affect you at all as an independent festival?
Of course. By the way, I like your term consolidation. This is also part of the game. It's from my point of view, it's absolutely not a consolidation. It's somehow new thing. I would name it more destruction than consolidation. But on the other side, as I said, it's not black and white. And if Viagra Boys will be, if the agent of Viagra Boys will join Live Nation, I will book Viagra Boys. So I will work with them. So it's example. I don't think you are guilty that you are booking artists with Live Nation. They have artists, you are promoters, you are free, they are free. As you said, free market and also free decisions. So it's not like that. I just want to accent that I don't think you are guilty that you work with them. On the other side, we know that there are tools how to change the scene in some territories by abusing the power. And this is another consequences of corporativization. We were part of it. One big company wanted to buy us, and then we said no, and they wanted to do the same on a festival on the same site 2 weeks before Pohoda, cheap price, stronger lineup. It happened in the end, but not on our side, but in Bratislava it ended in disaster. But this was like good example how you can abuse your power. So this is, I think, danger for art scene in general.
There are ways of abusing power which are legal, and there are ways which are illegal. And there's a gray area in between. So, for example, I don't know, I just give an example off the top of my head. There's a stadium in Prague called what's the name of it? I can't remember. But anyway, it's basically only Live Nation can promote there. They have an exclusivity agreement with the stadium, and it's the only stadium. So if you want to do a stadium show in Prague, you're out of it. There's nothing. You have no choice. Live Nation gets the show, or you don't do it. It's not quite so simple, but there are similar agreements, you know, in other forms. There's also ticketing companies which have exclusivity agreements. So you only can sell, if you work at that venue, you can only sell your tickets through that particular ticketing company, and so on and so on. So those are legal exclusivities, but they of course corrupt the market. They're not free market, but they're within the law.
And it's also changing the approach of artists, for example, because if you are part of this world when everything is based on money and not real free market, from my point of view, you are becoming, a lot of people start behave like crazy. Before, the strong artists were supporting their support bands also with fees, money, dressing rooms, backline, Now, the small bands are paying big artists fees to play before them. It's crazy.
That was always the case. I mean, that's not an old...
Maybe in your market, I have never experienced it before, but when we did one big concert in Bratislava a few years ago, when I found out that it's like that, I was ashamed instead of the band.
Of course, in a sense, it's a free market choice because the artist decides, the headline artist decides, am I going to screw the support band? Or am I going to be generous? And the support band decides, do I accept these conditions in order to advance my career, or do I say no? So anyway, we have to finish. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, panel.
Thanks to my delegates, beautiful. You can continue with the talks on Hemi reception upstairs, and officially to apologize to Mark Bona, because he is not here. It's not his fault. It's my fault. I forget to inform him. So officially apologize and come upstairs on Hemisphere reception. We have a lot of chocolates. Thank you very much.